Welcome back to the garage and part 4 of the Gates of Sorrow. As we embark upon part 4 of the Gates of Sorrow, if you've been keeping up, you'll know that in the last one was a really close contest, and for the first time the ghosts managed to stem the tide against the Death Guard. Do go and check out the other parts. It sets everything up for this part 4, and with this, the Death Guard have got slightly deeper into the city, despite the best efforts of the ghosts, and the ghosts have reconverged upon this main reactor for powering the Gates of Sorrow. So that's the main reactor just here, the main generator. It's powered by these two nodes here and here, all three of which are going to be objectives in the main mission. Before we get onto the mission and the table, let's go and have a look at the two armies. So here we have just under 1,000 points of the Ghosts of the Forge. The forces are dwindling now. We're getting into the twilight hours of this campaign. Reinforcements are thin on the ground at the moment, and that's represented by a slightly smaller army force of 1,000 points. They're led today by Captain Chapter Master Pet'ra Lok'lin. He's back with his squad of Soulbound, the Vanguard veterans, and his right-hand man, the beat stick that is Chaplain, the very angry Chaplain Adal, with his squad of Assault Terminators. We have a squad of Assault Intercessors. They're back, and the Centurions are back in force after some rest and recuperation on the battle barge, along with 3 of the 6 Blade Guard veterans that started out the campaign, and the Redemptor Dreadnought. I'm going for something slightly different. I'm running the Storm Force, whatever it is, the White Scars detachment today. Yeah, see if we can do some advancing and charging, etc. And the enhancement on Lok'lin today is the Portents of Wisdom, allowing him to re-roll advance rolls for that unit, just to see if we can get them around the board. So give a little bit of pace to things and get them where they need to be around the battle grid. So let's see if that makes a difference today. But before that, let's go and see what the Heralds of the Scourge bring with the Death Guard warband. So here we have 1,000 points worth of Death Guard. They are led today by the Plaguecaster Plaguemirth, and he's got the enhancement, the Insectile Murmuration, because we're running the Flyblown Host today, hence the number of infantry in the detachment. So each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack that targets a unit that's within contagion range, you can re-roll a wound roll of 1. And then the Foul Blightspawn Orgax Blithelung, he's got ranged weapons, have the assault ability in the bearer's unit, so he'll be running around, hopefully advancing and getting some shots off whilst he's doing that. We've then got the Corpse Maker and 3 of the 6 Death Shroud that we started off with, and we have a squad of Terminators. We then have 3 squads of Plague Marines, one choppy squad here, then 2 standard squads with either a Blight Launcher and Plasma, or just a Blight Launcher. And then in the backfield, we've got the Plague Burst Crawler to try and pick off some units from afar and cause a bit of mayhem should it need to. So that's 1,000 points worth of Death Guard. So with that, we'll go on to the mission and deployment. So for today's mission, there's three major nodes. There's the energy plant here, and the main power generator for the gates, one of the power generators for the Gates of Sorrow. So in today's mission, we're going to so the slight modification of the Vigilus Alone Stormval mission. So what we're going to do is, the idea is the attackers, the Death Guard, are trying to destroy these nodes. So they're going to plant melter bombs on them. They can only do that if there's no enemies within 3 inches of the objective. As you can see, there's a little marker here. And so they can complete that action at the end of the turn if there's no enemies within 3 inches of the objective. And the defenders can deactivate the melter bombs again if there's no enemies within 3 inches of the objective. At the end of the game, we'll mark which ones are, if you like, ready to be triggered with the melter bombs, and they will explode and take out the generator. You can then also plant melter bombs on the actual power generator itself and take that out. So it will result in a victory or defeat, because there's 3. There's no options here for a draw, and that's what the mission will be, to see if the Death Guard can take down the generators and open their way to the Gates of Sorrow further and deeper into the city, underground. A little bit of a word about the terrain and the mat. The terrain is a mixture of GW and game mat terrain. As you can see here, some of it lovely painted by Hobo Joe's Commissions. Go and have a chat with him. There's some over there and there's some over there, one of his famous tango nights. We also have recently started up a Discord server, so I'll put the link in the description below. So I do highly encourage you to come along and say hello. Be good to see you there. And so with that, we'll go on to deployment and go and see and roll off who gets first turn. So after deployment, while leaving the Death Shroud and the Blight Lords in the teleportarium, the 3 squads of Plague Marines distributed themselves across this back line with the Plague Burst Crawler in support to try and give some heavy fire, heavy support. For the Ghosts, Chaplain Adal and his Terminator squad are also in the teleportarium, and Lok'lin and his Soulbound are in Deep Strike. They're up in the atmosphere, ready to try and react to what the Death Guard do, but the Centurions have set up on the right flank along with the Assault Intercessors. The Blade Guard and the Redemptor, the veterans, have set themselves up on the left hand side of this triangular deployment zone. So with that, we'll head on to the roll-off to see who goes first. So we're doing blue dice for the Ghosts and white dice for the Death Guard. Let's see who gets first turn. It's Ghosts, turn 1. So movement short and sweet. The Death Guard infantry, as is their right with the fly-blown host, have scouted 5 inches forward to try and get onto the objectives and start their action in their first turn. But in the meantime, the Ghosts themselves, the Redemptors, move forward to take line of sight on this squad of Plague Marines over in the ruins. And the Blade Guard and the Assault Intercessors and the Centurions have all just advanced forward, just to get themselves into position to try and counter-strike if they can in their second turn once the Death Guard have moved forward. So with that, we'll go on to just a light spattering and shooting from the Redemptor into that squad, and we'll start with the Stormbolters. As it's the only thing shooting this turn, or being shot at this turn, this unit here will be the Oath of Moment target. So let's crack on with the Redemptor, firing its Stormbolters, hitting on 4s because of the fly-blown host. Re-rolling. Strength 4, toughness 5, so 5s to wound and no wounds. How many shots for the rocket pod? For 2. Re-rolling again. So 2 hits. Strength 8 and toughness 5, so 3s to wound. So 2 wounds come through. -1, but there is cover in the way. So 3 up saves. And it kills one of the Plaguemirths. There's no point overcharging the Macro Plasma Incinerator because it is 2 wounds. It's damage to weapon. So let's see how many shots we get. Oh, it is the big 6. So that's 7. And then blast 8 shots. So hitting on 4s. And with the re-rolls, 3s to wound. So 4 wounds come through, -3 becomes -2 because of cover, and 2 more are slain. Well, that's it for the shooting phase for the Ghost and the turn, because there's nothing else doing in terms of advancing or charges or anything like that. So with that, we'll go on to the Death Guard, turn 1, and see if they can start setting explosives on these energy nodes. At the end of the Death Guard movement phase, this squad of remaining 4 moved up and are beginning the action to plant the explosives, whilst this squad here had to advance. They did get a mighty 6 on their advance, but obviously makes them ineligible to do anything apart from sit and wait out their turn to plant further explosives and prevent the Ghosts from potentially taking down this node and protecting it. The Plaguemirth crawler just coming around the corner to draw a line of sight to draw the bead towards the Redemptor Dreadnought with its entropy cannons. And this squad of Plague Marines did a normal move up onto this energy node in order to also start doing the action. So again, it'll be a quick turn for the Death Guard here with just the Plaguemirth crawler shooting. So with that, let's go and warm up the guns and fire that mortar over at some of the poor unsuspecting Ghosts. So firing the mortar, and it's going to go up and over into the assault intercessors. Oh. So hitting on 4s. Not excellent with a lethal and 3 hits. Strength 8, toughness 4 at this point, so wounding on 2s. So 3 wounds come through. It's -1, but they get +1 for cover because there's plenty of it. So 3 up saves. And one of the assault intercessors falls. Doing a battle shot test, and they just pass. So 2 entropy cannons into the Redemptor Dreadnought. 1 hits, 1 misses. Strength 10, doesn't wound. So the heavy slugger into the Redemptor, why not? 3 hits. No wounds. So that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. Quick battle round 1 as both armies set themselves up for the staging for the next move in their attack. We'll go on to the Ghosts, turn 2, to see if they can prevent or dismantle these explosives which are now set on this node and this node, thanks to this squad, and this squad setting them successfully, completing the actions at the end of their turn. So with that, we'll move on to Ghosts, turn 2. At the end of the Ghosts movement phase, the Redemptor advanced up He's going to spend a CP on blitzing Fusillade, turning all his weapons into assault weapons, hopefully in an effort to kill this squad and charge round and start attacking that squad of Plague Marines. Feeling no other option than to strike fast and strike hard, Chaplain Adal teleports on to the battle grid to hopefully take out this squad as well. The Assault Centurions advance forward, looking to make a charge round onto the Foul Blightspawns unit, as does Pet'ra Lok'lin coming down out of Deep Strike to make advances on this squad of Plague Marines and take them out as well. But that being said, this squad here are going to fire Overwatch into Locklin's squad and see if they can thin the herd. The Assault Intercessors and the Blade Guard stood vigilance, held vigilant over the power generator. With that, we'll go on to fire some Overwatch from the Blightspawns squad. So 2 shots from the Blight Launcher. Nope. 2 shots from the Plasma. And both wound. -2, and that kills one of the Soulbound. We didn't overcharge. Now, number of shots from the Foul Blightspawn. Okay, so anti-infantry 2 up. So all 3, they're not in contagion range yet, so it's only -2, but each failed save will kill a Soulbound. And that's 2 more, that's 3 gone from Locklin's squad as they hit the battle grid. So starting the shooting phase from the Redemptor Dreadnought, again there's not much that will shoot this turn because they're either advanced or are out of range. But we're in rapid fire range now for the Storm Bolters. We miss. Fail to wound. Number of shots from the Flamer for 1, which doesn't wound. Number of shots from the Icarus Rocket Pod for 3. So 2 hits, no wounds. And then the number of shots from the Macroplasma Incinerator is just 2 shots. 1 hits, it doesn't wound if we haven't overcharged it. Well, he must have been out of breath from running. That's all I can say. So that quick and frankly useless shooting phase is over. So let's get on to charges. We're going to charge the Redemptor into this squad of Plague Marines, which he's in. We're going to charge Chaplain Adal's squad of Assault Terminators into this squad. We've made that the Oath of Moment. They're definitely not in. I'm going to... do I want to CP that? Yeah. They're still not in. And then the squad of Assault Centurions, they are in. And then the squad of Pet'ra Lok'lin's squad, who can reroll charges, and he is in. The Foul Blightspawn squad, he grants them the ability to fight first. So they're going to strike out and they're going to split the attacks, I think, maybe. But we're going to start off with the heavy plague weapons going into the Assault Centurions. They're hitting on 4s. So we've got 1 lethal hit already. We've missed a few times, quite a bunch of times. Useless. Wounding on 3s. So 2 wounds come through. -2 becomes -3 because of contagion. The Assault Centurions boss it. Okay. So now the number of bubotic weapons. The bubotic weapons going into Pet'ra Lok'lin's squad, hitting on 3s. 6s are lethal. Strength 5, toughness 3 now, so 3s to wound. So 4 wounds come through at -2, becomes -3. And that kills another soulbound and puts 1 on 1 wound. All the plague knives into Lok'lin's squad as well, hitting on 3s. Now wounding on 3s. So 6, 4 up saves now because of -1. So we roll them all together because Lok'lin does have an invulnerable save, but it's on a 4 anyway. So that kills the sergeant and puts 2 wounds onto Lok'lin himself. So with that squad having fought, we'll start with the Redemptor Dreadnought, putting everything into the squad of Plague Marines in front of him, hitting on 3s because now he's in close combat. Strength 12, toughness 5, so 2s to wound. So 4 wounds come through, that's 1 for each of them. -2, so 5 up saves. Damage 3, so each one failed will kill a Plague Marine. And it kills 3 outright. So Lok'lin raises his Thunderhammer. On the charge it is strength 9. Still wounding on 3s, doesn't make much of a difference. But he strikes out with his hammer, thread cutter, and hits on 3s. Wounding on 3s, looking for devastating wounds if we can. And we get 2 devastating wounds, it just kills 2 outright. Only 2 of the Assault Centurions could get into combat, so they raise and fire up their siege drills and strike out, hitting on 3s. Wounding on 2, strength 10 versus toughness 5, so wounding on 2s but twin linked. They don't need it. That is 3 wounds, -2, so 5 up saves, but each one will kill a Marine. And they kill 3 on their own. So the Plague Marines champion fights back to the Redemptor, strikes out, and as a lethal hit, misses the other 2 times. But the Redemptor is fine and stands strong. So that marks the end of the Ghost turn 2. Significant damage done to this Plague Marine squad, but they're still here. And whilst they're still here, that means that they can't deactivate the melta bombs, as is the case over here. The Redemptor is still tied up in combat right now. So with that, let's see how the Death Guard respond as we go on to Death Guard turn 2. At the end of the Death Guard movement phase, the Plague Burst Crawler has pivoted and then turned around and gone to face down the Redemptor. The Plague Marine squad with the Plague Caster has just moved slightly forward to just try and start blocking off access to this objective from Chapter Adal's squad. The squad of Blight Lords has deep struck out of the Teleportarium and has got line of sight on the Blade Guard, as have this end. The Corpse Maker smells blood and is going for the Assault Intercessors. Meantime, the Foul Blightspawn squad has stayed in combat, but he's spending a CP and turning his weapon into, with the pistol keyword, and see if he can do any more damage to these pesky Assault Centurions. So, spending a CP on Eye of the Swarm gives his Plague Sprayer the pistol ability, so let's see how many shots he gets. And he gets 5, which is respectable. Very good, in fact. Anti-infantry 2 up. So 4 wounds come through, -2 becomes -3, so 5 up saves for the Assault Centurions. And he kills 1. Working around through this unit here, another grenade, another CP has been spent on the grenade stratagem. So firing over into Chapter Adal's squad. doing 2 mortal wounds. It's good. So sticking with that squad, the blight launcher fires out and hits once, and it wounds. So -1 becomes -2, so 4 up save, which they are fine. There is 3 plasmas. There's 2 plasmas in there, 1 plasma pistol and 1 plasma cannon. So all 3 hit. All 3 wound. So -2, so -2 becomes -3, but it's a 4 up invulnerable save. And again, the Terminator plate and the storm shields stay strong. 3 lethal hits came in from the bolters. It plinks another wound off of the injured Terminator. The Plague caster draws on the warp once more. He's been pretty successful this campaign and focuses his Witchfire for 5 hits. Strength 6 versus toughness 5 now because of contagion. So 3 wounds, so 3 wounds come through. -2 becomes -3, so 4 up invulnerable saves. And 2 go through, so it kills that one. Well, that's the only wounds it does. It's D3. So a total of 4 wounds comes through, so it kills that one and puts 1 down to 1 wound remaining. Sorry, 2 wounds remaining. So with that, we'll go on to the Plaguemirth Crawler. He's going to split fire, so he's going to put the mortar into Chaplain Adal's squad, and he's going to put the entropy cannons into and the heavy slugger into the Redemptor. We'll start with the number of shots from the mortar for 7 shots. He has sight of them, so hitting on 3s. There's 2 lethals there, so strength 8 versus toughness 5 now because of contagion, so 3s to wound. So 4 wounds come through at -1, but there is a bit of cover, but they are in contagion, so 3 up saves. Okay, that kills another Terminator and puts 1 down to 2 wounds. The Redemptor is locked up in combat, so it's -1 to hit from the Plaguemirth Crawler. Gets 1 hit. It doesn't wound. Okay. Some heavy sluggers, see if we can chip some wounds off. Misses 3 of the times. It does do a wound, but the Redemptor holds firm. Electing not to fire in case they make their charges any longer. Both the squads of Terminators, the Death Shroud and the Blight Lords, are just electing to charge. So with that, we will go on to the charge phase, and we'll start with the Blight Lord Terminators into the Blade Guard, which they fail. Okay, I'm not going to use a CP on that one because I want the Death Shroud to get in. On 8, they're just falling short, so let's go again. On a 9, they make it in. So that's the remaining CP gone, so there's Death Guard and down to no CP. So we will... Is it worth charging? Yes. Yeah. Is it worth charging the Terminators? The Plague Marines are going to be charged by Adal's squad next turn. Let's see what we can whittle down. On a 10, they're in. Conscious that the Space Marines have got 2 CP to interrupt, we're going to start with the Plague Marines in the centre here into the Terminator squad and see what we can do. We're going to start with the heavy plague weapon, hitting on 4s. Lovely. Strength 8 versus toughness 5 now, so 3s to wound. Lovely. So 2 wounds come through, so that's -2 becomes -3, so 4 up invulnerable save either way. And it kills that Terminator on 2 wounds remaining. So 21 attacks come in from the Plague Knives. 6s are lethal, hitting on 3s. 5s to wound now. So 5 wounds come through, -1, so now because of contagion, so 3 up saves. And it puts 2 wounds onto another Terminator. Death Shroud, led by the Corpse Maker, raise their Man Reapers and strike out at the Assault Intercessors, hitting on 2s and 6s being lethal. Strength 8 versus Toughness 3 now, so 3s, just 2s to wound. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. -2 becoming -3, so 9 6-up saves to keep this squad alive. Each failed save is a dead Assault Intercessor. It was a relatively valid attempt, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just enough. And with that, the Assault Intercessor squad is completely wiped. Death Shroud move on to the objective. Start. They can't quite plant the melta bombs just yet because the Blade Guard is still within range of this power generator, but they are primed and ready. So working our way back round to the Assault Centurions. Defenders fight first. We've already fought over here, so it makes sense for the Assault Centurions to strike out and see if they can finish this squad off and at least start to dismantle the explosives that are attached to this generator. Remembering the Foul Blight Swarm gives them fight first. The Plague Marine, the heavy weapons, strike out and hit on 4s, 6s being lethal. Not bad. Strength 8 versus less than, 3s to wound. So 3 wounds come through, -2 becomes -3, so 5 up saves, and they bring down another Centurion. 3 Plague Knives from the Foul Blight Spawn strike out and hit on 3s, but cause no wounds. So now the Assault Centurion, the remaining one, fights back. So hits on 3s, wounds on 2s, it's twin linked. So 3 wounds come through, -2, 3 damage each, and only kills 1. Chaplain Adal raises his Crozius Arcanum, strikes out and hits on 2s. Strength 6, but now strength 7 because adding 1 to the wound roll. Wounds on 3s. So 3 wounds come through, -1, and he kills 3 Plague Marines all on his own. This squad was the Oath of Moment from the last turn, so that's still in play as I understand it. So hitting on 4s and re-rolling, which is a good job. Okay, let's get one more. Strength 9 now, strength 8, but adding 1 to the wound roll, so instead of wounding on 3s, wounding on 2s. So 2 wounds come through, they're not devastating, -2, and again 2 more fall. The Blade Champion strikes out against the Redemptor, hits once, fails to wound. The Redemptor strikes back, wounding on 2s. Can the Plague Champion survive? Not with a roll like that. And with that, the Redemptor is freed up consolidate onto the objective. So at the end of turn 2, another brutal turn. There already isn't much left as we go. The Death Guard still hold this energy, this node here. They have gone onto the power generator, but with the Blade Guard still there within reach of it, they can't start putting explosive down just yet. But with all units tied up in combat, what, if anything, can the Ghosts do to protect these nodes now with assets very thin on the ground as we go into Ghosts turn 3? So at the end of the Ghost movement phase, the Blade Guard have brought themselves down to try and block off access to this generator to the Blight Lords. Finding himself without his soulbound and out of combat, Lok'lin has advanced forward to then hopefully charge in and prevent the Death Shroud from planting any explosives. Chaplain Adal and his squad have stayed in combat, as has the Assault Centurion, and the Redemptor is staring down the Plaguemirth Crawler to see if it can take that unit out before dismantling the explosives really delicately on the energy node. So with that, we'll go on to the shooting. It should be short and sharp again, I think, starting with the Redemptor. And the Oath of Moment target, the Plaguemirth Crawler, the Redemptor Dreadnought opens up everything, starting with the Macroplasma Incinerator. For 5 shots, hitting on 3s, re-rolling those 2, so 4 hits. We will overcharge, but nothing more than just trying to get the damage profile. After the Flamer, the Storm Bolters and the Icarus rocket pod came in, we managed to plink off a few wounds, getting the Plaguemirth Crawler down to 9 wounds remaining. So with that, we'll come around this side, and the Blade Guard unpack their grenades and throw everything at the Blight Lord Terminators. So 6 grenades, any 4s do mortal wounds. We kill one on the way in. Excellent. So short and sweet as promised, that marks the end of the shooting phase, and with that we'll go on to charges, and there's just 2 to declare, 3 to declare even. There's Redemptor Dreadnought into the Plaguemirth Crawler, the Blade Guard into the Blight Lords, and Chapter Master Pet'ra Lok'lin into the Death Shroud. With the Blade Guard and the Redemptor being pretty much an auto in, let's have a look and see if we can get Chapter Master Pet'ra Lok'lin in with his re-rollable charge. We need to be spending a command point on it. No, he does not get into combat. Okay. Spending a CP on tank shock for the Redemptor as he goes into the Plaguemirth Crawler. Let's see if we can soften up any more wounds. It's 1, 2, 3 more wounds, leaving the Plaguemirth Crawler with 6 remaining. The Death Guard don't have any CP or enough CP to interrupt, so we'll start there with the Redemptor Dreadnought striking out, hitting on 5s. Hitting on 3s even. It is the Oath of Moment target. We hit 4 times. It's gonna be strength 12, so wounding on 3s, but wounding on 2s because of Oath of Moment. So 4 wounds come through, a 4-up save for the Plaguemirth Crawler. At 3 damage a time with 6 wounds left. That is exactly what it needed to do the job. Does it explode? No. And with that, the Plaguemirth Crawler is clear, blown up, gone, and the Redemptor is free clear that energy node should it choose to. So the Blade Guard adapt the swords of the chapter so they get to reroll hit rolls of 1 as they strike out against the Blightlord Terminators. Just a couple of ones in there. Difficult part now. Strength 5 versus toughness 6, so 5's to wound. Just 3 wounds come through. -2, so on the 4 up and vulnerable save for the Blightlords, which they make every single, unfortunately for the Blade Guard, they make every single one. So coming back round to this ongoing combat here, the Plague Marine strikes out with its heavy plague weapon, hitting on 4s. 2 lethals and a hit, and it wounds, so 3 wounds come through for the Assault Centurion. Its -2 becomes -3, so 5 up saves. Oh, and it tanks the lot. Okay, so now Plague Knives, hit once, wounds. Oh, there it takes a wound, down to 3 remaining. So the Assault Centurion fires up its siege drills, hits twice, rerolls, wounds twice, so 5 up save on the remaining Plague Marine, which it fell, so it's dead. 5 up save on the Blightspawn, which it makes. In the centre of the battle grid, the Plague Champion raises his Plague Fist, hits once, wounds, and kills one of the Terminators. The remaining Plague Knives strike out, and we get 1 lethal, and then miss. So 2 wounds come through, and the Terminators, the remaining Terminator Sergeant and Chaplain Adal, stand strong. Chaplain Adal raises his Crozius, misses twice, wounds once, and the Plague Marines stand strong. The Terminator raises his Thunderhammer, misses twice, wounds, and kills the Plague Marine in front of him. So the Blightlord Terminators strike back against the Blade Guard, and they start with the Flail of Corruption. It misses twice, but at strength 5 versus toughness 3 now, be 3's to wound. Wounds 4 times. -2 becomes -3, so onto the 4 up invulnerable save for the Blade Guard. And that kills one of the Blade Guard, leaving 2 remaining. The remaining 3 Blightlords raise their bubotic blades and strike out, hitting on 3s. With 1 lethal hit already, and missing once. Again, strength 5 versus toughness 3, so 3's to wound now. That's 3, 6, 8 wounds come through. At -2 becomes -3, so again 4 up invulnerable saves. That kills another of the Blade Guard, leaving 1 remaining, standing firm. At the end of the Ghost turn, it's a mixed battle round for them so far. The Redemptor has cleared the way here and is unable to clear this energy node in the next turn should he choose to. Over here there's ongoing combat with the foul Blightspawn. Lok'lin is left in the wind somewhat, and the Blade Guard are up against it, but Adal is holding the Malignant Plaguecaster at bay in the centre of the grid here. So what will the Death Guard do? We should go on to Death Guard turn 3 to see if they can enact their plan against this power generator. So at the end of the Death Guard movement phase, not much has actually moved, in fact nothing at all. The Death Shroud are going to start the action of planting explosives on this generator. The foul Blightspawn spending a CP in the shooting phase to turn his Plague Sprayer into a pistol and see if we can take care of that last Assault Centurion. The Psyker stayed in combat and is going to use his data sheet ability to dish out some mortal wounds if he can against the Terminators and the Blight Lords to stay in combat to finish off that Blade Guard and hopefully then advance towards the generator themselves. So using the Gift of Contagion ability for the Malignant Plaguecaster on a 2-up, you get to do D3 mortal wounds. So D3 wounds to the Terminators for 2, but the Chaplain gives them a 4-up feel no pain. And so that does absolutely nothing, but what it does do, it subtracts 1 from the wound roll of those Terminators and Chaplain Adal. So turning his Plague Sprayer into a pistol, can the foul Blightspawn finish off that Assault Centurion for 5 shots? And just does 2 wounds. It does fail. He has got a wound gone. It's a 3 damage weapon, I think. Hang on. It's anti-infantry 2-up, I forgot that. So 2 more to go through. He has taken 2 wounds so far. Oh, and with that, even with a CP, I can't keep the Assault Centurion alive. How significant will that prove to be as we move on to the fight phase now? And we'll start with the Blight Lord turn. No, let's start with Defenders fighting first. Let's start with the Blade Guard. He hits twice. He wounds once and does tickle one of the Blight Lord Terminators. And whilst we're here, we'll fight back as a flail is raised again, strikes out against the Blade Guard, doing 2 lethal hits already. For a total of 4 wounds coming through, and that kills him. Chaplain Adal raises his Crozius once more and strikes out and misses once. Now it would be +1 to wound. That's -1 to wound. So strength 6, toughness 5, it's wounding on 3s. And wounds 4 times. It is -1, so 4-up saves. And it does 2 damage and kills the Plague Champion, leaving the Plaguecaster alive. The remaining Terminator Sergeant raises his Thunderhammer, misses twice, but does 2 devastating wounds, which absolutely cuts down the Plaguecaster right in front of him, freeing up that squad. So at the end of turn 3 for the Death Guard, they've planted more explosives, so we've now got explosives on the main power generator here. We've got explosives on this energy node here. They are on here as well, so the Redemptor's going to have to spend a turn, or Chaplain Adal's going to have to spend a turn coming back over to try and deactivate them is we go into ghosts, turn 4. Let's see, there's not many assets left. There is a pretty strong squad of Blight Lords, a full squad of Death Shroud, and a foul Blightspawn left. What can the ghosts do? What decisions has Lok'lin got to make, because he's tied between here and here? Let's see as we go on to ghosts, turn 4. Lok'lin shouts down the Vox for Adal to make his way back to the generator, and they declare this Death Shroud the Oath of Moment target, whilst the Redemptor cleanses and clears down the explosives on the energy node. I'm going to leave this node be for the time being, hoping to be in a position where they've cleansed this one and this one by the end of the battle. So with that, in any shooting, there's nothing to do. I'll go on to the charge phase as both Adal and Lok'lin charge into the Death Shroud to try and eliminate them from the battle grid. So rolling the charge for Adal, he's in on an 8, and Lok'lin is in just on a 3. Come on, Lok'lin. Lok'lin raises his Thunderhammer, the Thread Cutter, and strikes out, hitting on 3s. Strength 8, toughness 6, wounding on 3s, but looking for devastating wounds. Don't get any devastating wounds, but we do get 2 come through onto the invulnerable save and the Death Shroud, which they fails, he kills one. I wouldn't have done it if we hadn't killed one, but spending 2 CP to interrupt the Death Shroud, strike out at Adal and the last remaining Terminator, hitting on 2s, hoping for 6s. Okay, we get a couple of 6s, a couple of lethal hits. Strength 8 versus less than now, so 3s to wound. Okay. Only 3 wounds come through, and the Terminator plate holds. Enraged, Chapter Master raises his Crozius once more. Obviously can't see through the cloud of flies in front of him. That's +1 to wound. So 2 wounds come through, but the Terminator plate holds strong. 3 attacks from the remaining Terminator. He misses twice, but there's the Oath of Moment target. Hits all 3 times. +1 to wound. Wounds 3 times. And that kills one of the Terminators and puts one down to 1 wound remaining. So at the end of turn 4 for the Ghost of the Forge, this energy node is now cleansed and clear of explosives. This one still has them on, as does this one, because we haven't successfully cleared the Death Shroud yet. So what will the Death Guard do to go on to their turn 4, see if they can continue to hold these explosives down and ignite the generators. So turn 4 for the Death Guard sees the Blight Lords advance up towards the power generator to try and prevent the explosives from being removed. The Death Shroud stays in combat whilst the Blightspawn comes round to protect the energy node. If anyone makes a move towards it, that overwatch is happening. So that being said, there's no shooting. Oh, there is some shooting. The Death Shroud is going to spurt his pistols into let's go for Adal's squad. So D6 number of shots for 5. Anti-infantry 4 up. Okay, just 1 wound. 1 now because of in contagion, and it does a wound to the Terminator. So defenders fighting first will go on to Adal, and he strikes out with his Crozius and hits all the times. Wounds 4 times and drags down that last Death Shroud Terminator. That marks the end of the Death Guard turn 4, short and sweet. So how will the Ghosts react in turn 5? They've got a node over here to clear. They do have to clear here. So what will Lok'lin decide? How will he direct his forces to prevent the bringing down of the power generator as we go on to Ghosts turn 5? At the end of the movement phase for Ghosts, this Redemptor has advanced, hoping to get a charge off into the Blightlord Terminators whilst potentially spending a CP in the shooting phase to give his weapons the assault ability. This Terminator here is busy clearing down the generator from explosives, but as the Chapter Master Lok'lin moved, the Blightspawn let loose with his Plague Sprayer. So 6 shots coming in, or D6 shots coming in, so I say. So 3 shots. Anti-infantry 2 up. So 3 saves to make for Lok'lin on his 4 up invulnerable save. And with that, even with a CP, it's damage 2. He's got 3 wounds left. I'm gonna have to spend the CP that I've got. Off the board. Off the board again. Come on now. And he makes it on the 4. It's down to 1 wound remaining. So with that, I can't spend any CP on the Blitzing Fusillade, so it'll just be charges. So we'll charge Pet'ra Lok'lin into the Blight Lords on 3. He fails. Does the Redemptor get in? On a 6, I'll measure it. No, so failed charges across the board. So at the end of the Ghost's turn, they're holding this generator. They've forsaken that energy node. They're clearing down, or they've cleared down the explosives on the generator here. With only 1 unit left, or 2 units left with the Blightspawn, what will the Death Guard be able to do in order to try and secure the battle plan? Take 2. So the Foul Blightspawn has moved up and he's going to take aim at Chaplain Adal's squad and his Terminator remaining with him. The Blight Lords have moved up and they are going to take aim at Pet'ra Lok'lin in close combat and see if they can drag him down. The number of shots from the Plague Sprayer from the Blightspawn is only 2. On anti-infantry 2 up, it does 2 wounds. Beyond the invulnerable save for the Sergeant, which it fails, so it takes 2 wounds and fails, so the Plague Sprayer brings down and kills that remaining Terminator Sergeant. So charging Adal with the Blight Lords, charging Lok'lin, sorry, with the Blight Lords, they're angry, they get in at 10 and see if they can drag him down. The Blight Lord raises his flail. Oh. And only hits twice. Does wound. It's going to be 2 4-up invulnerable saves for Captain Pet'ra Lok'lin. She fails. And he fails. Enacting emergency protocols. There's a blink and a flash, and Pet'ra Lok'lin, rather than being taken back to the Herald's battle barge, he appears within the Apothecarian of his own battle barge, Fate's Blade. And that would mark the end of the Death Guard turn, and that would mark the end of the battle. This is how this story would end. Chaplain Adal standing firm in front of the power generator, but still with Blight Laws to deal with, the Redemptor by his side. Will they be able to hold the generator? This power node explodes, leaving nothing but molten slag. But this one survives, so not quite the full victory in defence of the unit, but certainly a pretty successful one so far. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for sticking with it all this way as we move on to the last and final part of the Gates of Sorrow, part 5. Will the Death Guard get access to the key, or will the ghosts be able to defend Kallos 9 and retrieve the key for themselves? Thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with it, and I'll see you in part 5.